My name's Kevin Mathuews. I'm 29. I was born and raised in Chillicothe, Ohio, and I still live here to this day.
Howdy, I'm Kenny Mathuews. Well, I grew up on Route 4, Liberty, Mississippi.
I was born in 1988. Growing up, I thought I only had 2 older sisters. I thought I was the youngest of 3 kids. And then a couple years ago, I met my brother Kenny. Kenny turned out to be the oldest child. I asked my mother, you know, what happened? Why was Kenny sent away? And she said, well, I don't think Kenny's ever coming back. So I'll tell you the truth. He's actually your twin brother, but you were born decades after he was. And she told me the truth. She said, well, he was so ugly that I had morning sickness after he was born. She said, so we tried for another boy and had Katie, and tried again and had Michelle, and tried again and had you. She said, and you looked identical to him, but you know, we really weren't going to go through it again, so she said, we stuck with you because we were just tired of it. And you know the girls we had were really great successes, and you and your brother Kenny were just well, there's not really a word to define the level of disappointment. She said it was tough. We'd take Kenny out. She said she remembered taking Kenny to a pet store, and everybody there kept asking him how big he'd get, and that he was so ugly that one time they took him to a dog show and he won. With you, we would do things like play hide and go seek, but we'd never come look for you. Once Kenny left to be on his own, we used to carry around pictures of the kids that came with the wallet. He was adopted by 2 people in Mississippi. He seemed more southern anyway, so we thought it would be a good idea that he go south. And he wanted it. It was his decision to go south. I met Kenny a few years ago after I saw a Facebook post he made about a childhood where they had something about cheese. I don't know. I remember Mom being that way with cheese. So when he was talking about it, and of course in the video he looks almost identical to me, except he's a little uglier. That's when I got a hold of him and I said, hey, I think we might be related somehow. And he said, well, you know, we knew someday this day would come where you'd figure it out. But yeah, I'm your older brother, Kenny. So it was really odd because it was like looking in a mirror. But just, it was me sitting across from me, but he just had a different accent. And, I mean, he's a nice enough guy. You know, he's done a lot of things, but it's sort of odd. I mean, I'll let Kenny tell the story of our first encounter and kind of tell you what he's been up to, because I really don't know what Kenny's been up to. He's not really on social media, so it's difficult for me to really know. I haven't really got a chance to talk to him a whole lot, so I'll just sort of kind of let Kenny take it from there.
Oh, it was probably late 1970s. I was 16 years old. I'd recently become an emancipated minor, and not for any other reason other than to move down to another state where I didn't even need my parents' permission to do nothing down there. I had my driver's license. Well, I had an old 55 Chevy. I loaded all my worldly possessions up in that 55, which consisted of a cinder block and a Patrick Swayze poster from Roadhouse. And I headed down there to get a job as a marine biologist. I was real fascinated with fishing, catfishing mainly, blue cats, chettle cats, shovelhead. Biggest catfish I pretty near ever caught was about this big between the eyes. When I got down there, I started at the Mississippi Industrial School for Boys. Once I got my bachelor's degree, I headed down to the University of the Peninsular State of the state just below the state of Georgia. That's where I got my PhD in marine biology. Now, shortly after that, I realized, well, hey, there ain't no daggone money in this. Studying fish and phytoplanktons and such what didn't lead to very big paychecks. Packed up my old 55, I headed up to the Black Hills of Dakota. Got me a job oil rigging up there. And I oil rigged for the next, probably 15 years. And then I thought, well, this rigging life, it just, the grind day in and day out and buying big trucks and always having to buy new tires off your trucks because you burn all the rubber off rolling coal to try and impress your other oil rigging friends. Well, after I spent well over $357,000 on new tires, I figured it was time for another life change. So I headed back to Ohio, closer to my kin, and that's when I made that video recalling my life about hot melted cheese on a cheeseburger. And my alleged little brother, Kevin Mathuews, he got a hold of me and he said, hey, I think we somehow related, because ain't nobody around here what looks as stupid as me. And you look just about as stupid as I do. And that's when I had to tell him. I said, well, you know, I'm here to tell you that I'm your older brother. And I know you can't tell by looking at me, but we got same relatives. So we talked back and forth briefly for about 3 minutes. And I told him I grew up on Route 4, Liberty, Mississippi, and I was a marine biologist, PhD. And I've been oil rigging for the past couple decades, and I come back to Ohio to be a little closer than I can. And he said, well, I tell you what, I don't want nothing to do with you. You know, it don't seem right to me that you don't ever tell me that you's my brother. I grew up thinking I had 2 older sisters, and that was it. And here I am, I think he was 27 at the time. I don't really know how old he is. He was in his mid-20s at the time. He said, you know, it ain't fair that I've gone through my whole life not knowing that I had an older brother. And you should be ashamed of yourself. And, you know, kind of hurts his feelings. Well, you know, I wouldn't recognize this kid from Adam if I'd ever done seen him, so. I said, well, I understand why you might feel that way. You know, probably hurt my feelings too if somebody did that to me. But, you know, that's life, buddy. You're just going to have to grow up. And tell you what, you got a lot of butt whoopings coming your way. You know, that's part of the deal. I told him, I said, you know what happens when I come home, me being your older brother and all, I got a big old can of whoopings to open up on you, and I'm going to pour it all over you. Because that's what older brothers do, and I'm here to make you a little more tougher than what you are. Because pretty near all I can tell you is just big sissy. Now, I've been oil rigging for a long time, and I ain't no pushover. I got me a big dumb truck and about $375,000 worth of tire debt. I bet I'm going to come over there. I'm going to do a big squealy burnout all the way around you till your brains bleed out your ears. I'm telling you what's happening. It's going to be the darndest thing you'd ever seen. And I'm going to go up $1,500 in tire smoke right there around you, and you ain't going to know what to think. And then I'm going to get out, and I'm going to whoop your ass. And he said, man, what would you do that for? I didn't do nothing to you. Why are you going to get out and beat me up? That don't make no sense. We're brothers. You're supposed to. He goes, I said, hey, buddy, you don't know nothing about having a brother. Older brothers are supposed to beat the younger brothers up. That's just how it goes. Now, if you thinking you can whoop me, then you just lay your best on me, buddy, and we'll see who's the older brother here. So, a little bit of time went on. We met a handful of times, and he started acting right. You know, I had to beat him up. I'm an older brother, so I had to beat him up a couple times. And then he progressed pretty quickly, and he got to the point where he could almost beat me up. So we shook hands, and figured it was time to move on to the next stage, and that's getting to know each other. So he said, hey, well, you know, would you do a couple more of them videos reminiscing about your life growing up? Because, you know, people seem to enjoy that. I don't know why, but people do. And I told him I'll tell as many as I can remember. But remember, a lot of my stories pertain to growing up on Route 4, Liberty, Mississippi, about 110 miles due south of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little video. Kevin and I plan on making a couple in the future. And maybe we can tell some stories that y'all would like to hear. Maybe you find it entertaining, maybe not, maybe... Who knows? Who knows what'll happen? But stay tuned. We probably got some interesting things to tell you. And I apologize for Kevin being so ugly. Clearly I'm the better looking one of the two. So hopefully he'll put some makeup on or cover his face next time or something so we don't have to put up with seeing his ugly mug. You didn't hear this from me, but I heard old mama had morning sickness after he was born. Ugh.